Hello, everyone. Today in Tech Care Solution podcast, we have Emille Bryant from Go Ikigai, and let's hear about let's hear from him. What does he do, and how he come up with this idea, and what exactly he's currently doing. So, welcome, Emille.
Thank you, Sartaj. And it's a pleasure to be here with you and to meet your audience. So, many thanks to them as well for the time they're sharing with us today. My name is Emille Bryant. I am the founder and president of Go Ikigai LLC. We are a consulting firm whose primary mission is to work with entrepreneurs, founders, and key decision makers to improve their mindset, their business processes, and the desired outcomes they say they want. I created something called the sustainable pursuit of success. And I defined that using a great business leader named Earl Nightingale, who had a fantastic definition of success. His definition was success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So when we talk about success, we can no longer talk about it in dollar terms. We can't talk about it in terms of units sold or customer served. We have to have a different mindset around success so that we can sustain it. Here's what happens in traditional business in America. Business owners see a problem, create a solution, whether it's a product or a service, and then try to sell their product or service in the marketplace, often against competitors who see the same problem and or the same solutions. What I want them to do is get away from being about sales and more about service. Serve the community within which you operate. And if you understand how to do that, you can find ways to build a successful, profitable business, a business that sustains over time, a business that adapts to the changing marketplace. Because as the market adapts, your primary mission is to serve your customer in their market, in their context. So that's what we do. We figure out what that context is and make sure that you're meeting that need. And the way we do that is through the process of discovering, recovering, or uncovering Ikigai. Ikigai is a Japanese word that translates colloquially, because it's not a direct translation. There are some concepts in Japanese that don't easily translate to English. But the concept translates the reason why you wake up every morning. So when I lived in Japan, when I was in the military, I was in the United States Air Force for over 20 years. What I observed was a culture whose great joy is finding the reason why they would wake up every day. Some people call it a passion, some a purpose, but I like to use the reason why you wake up every morning, because watching them, it was clear that they would pour everything they had into that endeavor, whether it was comic books, video games, bonsai trees, karate, their jobs, art, whatever it was that they did. So when you have that kind of motivation, that you don't want to hit the snooze button in the morning, that you want to wake up and leap out of bed, which is the first chapter of my book, Start with a Sparkle, leap out of bed every morning, you get the sense that there's more to your life than money. There's more to your life than the drudgery, what they say in France, especially in Paris, métro, boulot, dodo, right? Like just rinse and repeat. Just go to work, take the bus, get to work, go home, go to sleep, eat a meal. We want lives that are much more purposeful, more fulfilling than that. And part of being a founder is recognizing that the market space is full of opportunities to engage customers at that level, where their needs can be met in a holistic, intrinsic way that makes them feel fulfilled, that makes them feel like their needs and concerns are being heard. And then, because that's my job, I am now waking up every day to the opportunity to serve a community. If I can figure out how to do that profitably, I have a successful business. And that is where the progressive realization of a worthy ideal is. The worthy ideal in this context is being of service to a community. Progressive realization is always adapting and reacting to the things that they say they need in order to create a thriving business. So now we have this exchange, the social contract. I, as a business owner, see a need. I offer a solution to that need at a fair price that offers me fair profit. And the potential customer sees my offering and the value that it has, and says, I'm willing to pay perhaps even a premium in order to access that solution and give me the advantage I need, relieve the pain that I feel, to get closer to a goal that I have. And I look at business in one of three ways. Either there's a pain point, there's an aspiration, or there's an opportunity, right?
Okay.
The pain point is I'm doing things a certain way, and there's a level of pain associated with that. In my business, I help people learn how to see pain that they're numb to, so that we can start to reframe the pain altogether, and more importantly, find efficiencies. Because if you're numb to pain, you'll never overcome it. You'll never get rid of it. You'll just say that's the cost of doing business. And I hate that. I think that not every business decision needs to come with pain. The second thing I try to do is when a business is trying to aspire to something greater, maybe there's a product or a service that they haven't yet been able to achieve, but they see the opportunity to achieve it. That's what we do. We aspire to those greater heights. So that aspiration becomes a motivator. And I love working with companies and teams and leaders who have an aspirational vision for their business.
Okay.
And the third one is, just an opportunity. There is something just relatively new. Perhaps it's AI. Perhaps it is way to frame HR in the era of AI, right? So we can start looking at the human resource, the talented people at our disposal in a completely different and new light. Those opportunities, which often emerge based on market circumstances that weren't aspirational because you couldn't see them until they emerged. Those emergent opportunities are also a place where I thrive as a business consultant, because now I can help you find the angles where you can be a standout in a new niche. You can be a first to market kind of player, or perhaps a best to market player in an early opportunity, because the first to market didn't see something and the best to market can take advantage of that. So those are the three basic areas that I work within. And then what I try to do within those three areas is focus on the human first. Mindset is the key to all success in any business. So we want to have the right mindset. And then we work on processes, and we make sure that everyone's process and mindset are aligned. So it's purpose, mindset, process, and then we get all the other stuff that just naturally flows from that: the products, the services, customer satisfaction. And we can do all of our KPIs after that, and we can have all the fun in the world with all of the management artifacts that everybody says they need in order to feel like they're doing their jobs right. But we can't do any of that until we get the abstract locked down, concretized, and made into a situation where people understand. As a team, we're all on the same page. As a leader, I know where I want to go for the next 6, 12 months, even up to 60 months. And then for every team member, that they're bought in, they're comfortable, and they're creative, because they know that their contributions are recognized and honored and appreciated.
Yeah.
So that's, in a nutshell, how I run my business.
That's very well answered, Emil. And the way you mentioned the three things of a pain point, aspiration, and opportunity. As a business owner, I also seek those pain points for the industry people and try to solve their pain points using the latest technologies in the world. So that's how I perceived it. And I completely echo with your process of going through those pain points and going for aspirations, looking for the opportunities in that. And you very well explained how your name, company name is inspired from the Japanese, and good to see that. Now let's focus this whole conversation and towards this industry. So where do you see this consulting industry in next to 5 years? Before going to that, like, what's the biggest shift you have seen in this consulting space? What is the biggest shift that has happened in the last few years, and how the business leaders or the people are working in this industry, how they are responding to it right now?
So I have observed in my personal career as a consultant, which has been about a little over 12 years now, a shift from staff augmentation to ideation and innovation, right? So there's this spectrum, right? You can just hire a consultant and they come in and they sort of just sit in the seat, right? What we say in the Washington, D.C. area is butts and seats, right? And then you tell them what to do, they execute it, and then they give you an output that's very well known and doable. That side of the spectrum is beginning to wane as not just artificial intelligence, machine learning, and automation come online, but as people recognize that if you're going to bring an outsider in and you're not going to pay for them to be on staff, HR costs, all the benefits and all the things that go with an employee, then this added individual, this mind, this talent should do more than simply fulfill a rote position, a rote duty. So what I've seen in that over a decade span is they're looking at consultants as people who can solve problems. Some of those problems are intractable. They're problems that have been there for so long, nobody can solve them. So they say, perhaps we need an outside mind to look at those problems and figure out if we can do something different. And that is where I see the shift went from this butts and seats rote mentality to, do you have a problem solving skill set? Do you have the ability to act and react, to read a situation, draft a plan of action, execute that plan of action, and assess that plan of action, right? So we use different models. I use most of my models from the military, Warden's 5 rings, the read act model, PTAG, plan, train, execute, critique. Like, there's so many different ways we can approach problems, but the point of these different models is to get out of the rote duty fulfillment and get more into the ideation, innovation, and thinking on behalf of a client. So that's the spectrum that I've seen going from the 2010s into the
Okay. Yes, nice. When you're talking about the military experience, and I was having this thought, like you have perfectly blended that your military experience with then transferred to the consulting experience. What exactly people should get from you have the experience from military, you got a huge knowledge of how they are having their mindset and how that mindset can be transferable in the consulting or the companies right now, right? And you
Yes.
have perfectly done that. So let's talk about the future now. So
Sure.
where do you see this particular industry is going towards in the next 3 to 5 years? And what firms, what could be those difference? And
Sure.
where this industry as a whole is going?
So as I was saying, the old model of, rote duties and butts and seats and staff augmentation, that is going to be even more, those opportunities are going to slim down. They're going to go away, not because they're not needed, but because AI is going to start to fill some of those gaps. So when you can have a capably trained individual in the workplace, we can now extend them duty set, right? We can give them more opportunities to do the things that they used to do because they are no longer set in stone. What happens is you're seeing that transition in real time with artificial intelligence taking over those rote tasks. The individuals who can prompt the machine best are really thriving. They're doing a great job with the machine. And so now their duties are extended. They're more capable. They have same hours in the day, more capacity within each hour. So the next step for consultants is to get away from that and start saying, okay, how do I use the machine better? How do I ideate and innovate using the tools of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and automation? That's where I think the next generation's superstars are going to come from. That you can come to me, whether I'm a solopreneur or on a staff of one of the big 7, consulting firms, and I can give you back not just, the typical 3 or 5 options, but I can give you back a myriad of possibilities, and I can test those possibilities, Sartaj.
Okay.
I can test those possibilities and simulate different market conditions to figure out which set of innovations do I want to capture. That is a powerful place to be. So as the consulting industry evolves, you're going to see more and more consultants, whether they're in small firms or large firms, providing more robust solutions that have been simulated and tested under different conditions and scenarios in order to present a more complete solution. And then the innovation on top of that is there will be market opportunities in the space where humans are no longer required to do certain activities. Whether those activities meant that they lost their jobs or that their jobs changed or that the nature of their industry changed, what what it means, though, is that we have an opportunity as consultants to capture new markets altogether. We can
Yeah.
literally invent new markets now.
Yeah.
So the industry in the next 3 to 5 years has got to be the space where innovation is literally dripping out of every consultant's portfolio. Like you've got
Yeah.
to be so far ahead of where your future clients are in terms of how they see themselves and how you see them, that you have to be able to articulate a vision for them that they could have never seen themselves.
Yeah.
And that
That's
kind of consulting, that kind of innovation, leading edge innovation, requires constant learning, constant thinking. Whether you're like, I don't use AI in my practice. I don't. I am
okay.
incredibly creative. But where I do use AI is once I have ideas and I want to iterate them into something that I can gel into a very concrete package, I will then ideate on my own. I'll use AI to help me iterate until I figure it out. And then I produce a final human generated document. But that
Mhm.
space in between, I can go so much faster when I want to using it,
Yes.
not just drafting. I actually draft all of my own work. I love my original work because I'm a writer too. But what I
Mhm.
try to do is say, okay, where's my flaw? Where's my gap? Where's the thing that I'm missing? What are the areas that I can't see? AI
Yeah.
is brilliant for filling in gaps or pointing out mistakes or using the resources at its disposal to help you maybe identify something that you couldn't see because it wasn't inside your knowledge set before that. So now we have this space for the next 3 to 5 years where if a client comes to me and I get a chance to do my part and I observe and I see what's going on with them, I can
Mhm.
go so far ahead of them. I can say, do you know that with the price of oil being what it is today, which has this downstream effect, you can create a market over here in this
Mhm.
peripheral tangential industry that nobody is seeing today because nobody has reacted to the price of oil through this pipeline of stops that I see as a consultant. And my unique perspective says that if you want to take a gamble, if you're trying to build a new market, build a new market in this tangential space over here, because the indicators are that the price of oil, the price of diesel is going to push people toward this alternative, and you'll be ahead of the market when they finally feel that ripple effect.
Yeah, that's good to see that, Emily, that you're optimistic about the AI right now and how you are using. That's definitely good experience. And one thing that I've noticed, that you mentioned that there's new market in the consulting space that is going to become available in this AI space right now. And people in the consultant market should be able to capture those when using the AI. Nobody has ever mentioned that part. And this is so beautifully, you have mentioned how we can gather those opportunities in the future, because most of the people I talk to, they were skeptical about AI, whether it's going to benefit that to them or not. But you very well mentioned how we going to use it and at what extent should we use it. For example, in your case, you're using it for your finding out the gap and missing the, like, getting your output more efficiently. And that's how the AI should go in this particular industry. So, Emil, so let's talk about your company, Ikigai. So how is it going right now? Like, what's one thing that is going perfectly well for you? And what is the one thing that is creating kind of a friction for you and you would like to improve that one? What are those two things?
So the best thing about my business is that I get to run it how I choose. And the way I choose to run my business is different than how most business owners run. I do not work for money. I do not work for money. I work for joy. This is very
No.
important because part of my purpose when I wake up every morning and leap out of bed is to do a specific thing. And that is to meet people and make their day, their life, their organization, their process better. So my point isn't to create revenue. It is to create improvement. And wherever I see that opportunity, whether I mentor business owners, many of whom I do without at low or no cost, I do large businesses as well. I'm going back into speaking. I took a very long hiatus from professional speaking, but I see
Okay.
there's a demand for my kind of thinking in the marketplace, and I
Cool.
have a desire to do it. It makes me, if I feel like it's time for me to go back into that business of professional speaking. So
Mhm.
this is all part of where you ask what's going well with my business is that I've custom developed this business to meet my specific need as a business owner. And this is what I teach my business owners. I say you should run your business for one of two reasons. One, you want to be the greatest business mogul in history. You want to stand on the shoulder to shoulder with Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, or whatever titan of your industry or your niche there is. That is one, and if you do that, operate at that level. Build yourself into that person who is achieving the greatest status, the greatest success, the greatest opportunities, fulfilling your community's needs better than anyone. The second
Okay.
way that I mentor business owners is I say, your business is part of your lifestyle. And in both cases, I will never ask you to work so hard that you abandon your health, your family, or the things that make you truly who you are.
Yeah.
So that allows me then to throw myself in my business with the great passion you're seeing in this conversation, because I know what I'm here for. And I want my business owners to know what they're here for. So then if that's true, my business is running great.
Yeah.
And then I hit whatever revenue goal that I want to hit, because it all comes very organically. I don't have to market. This long form conversations like we're having with today, Sartaj,
Yeah.
that is the method by which I translate my passion into marketing. I can't do that on a LinkedIn ad. I can't do that. And I have tons of LinkedIn articles that I've posted, and I post regularly on LinkedIn. For those who want to follow me, it's just my name on LinkedIn, Emille Bryant. But where I see the challenge is that I can't replicate myself, sir. There's only one of me. So if there's a bottleneck, if there are people who are lined up and want my services, I cannot deliver that. And I'm okay with that. I made peace with that a long time ago. But that is probably the one thing is, outside of digital reproduction courses or this, which I don't do much of anymore because I did that and I found that wasn't fulfilling for me to spend time building courses. It makes the business, I have to turn away people sometimes and I know they're earnest and I know they want, but I just don't have the physical capacity to serve them. So that is the other part. And I've, like I said, I've made peace with it because I cannot reproduce myself. So I focus on quality of client versus quantity of client. That allows me to maintain a healthy throughput of about 1 to 2 clients per month. No more than 2, no less than 1 is ideal. And every year I try to have the greatest impact I can have on business owners and business leaders and key decision makers so that they can thrive. And so that's kind of where I stand on those 2 questions, right? You know my joy and the stuff that's going well, and you know what I wish I could do better or more of.
Yeah, that's definitely a good answer, Emil. And glad that you put it in a very defined manner how you perceive your business. And where do you see your company in 6 to 12 months from now?
So 6 to 12 months from now, let me be honest with you, by the end of this year, I will have done several speaking gigs. That is another long form marketing conversation that I'd like to have, where I can show people the mindset and the mentality and the thoughtfulness that I bring to an engagement so they can see for themselves firsthand. There's nothing like that. So that's probably the most valuable thing that I want to do over the next 6 to 12 months, is really just be in that professional speaking environment and really share my messages about AI and consulting with the world. The second thing that I really want to see is I want to rebuild a very limited staff, starting with an agent. So to your audience, I'm telling them, I'm telling you, Sartaj, as well, that if you are an agent and you're looking for talent, I am here and I pay generously, because I don't want to do the things that require me that are a distraction. So if I am a professional speaker, I don't want to book my own gigs. I just want to show up. Somebody can tell me what to do and I will do it. If they say, and this is the other part of the team that I want to rebuild, is I want somebody who can publicize my skills and my talents. So a publicist slash agent, it could be one or the same. It could be 2 different people, but those roles are where I intend to expand organically as a business owner. And more importantly, whoever I work with needs to be running their own business so that me as a consultant can do my job and help them run that business. And then as the subject of their business, as the client of their business, they're helping me do well. So it's very symbiotic that we're both working together. So I'm looking
Great.
for young, hungry, motivated individuals who want to either break into the industry or accelerate into the industry. And I'm willing to work with them to help them do that because I'm not looking for old, established people. Despite all of my gray hair, I am young.
Yes.
I am also incredibly energetic, and I want to have people on my team who are in the beginning stages of their success so that we can work together to see them, because actually want them to outpace me. I want to push someone beyond where I am and where I've been and give them a boost that I got from different business owners that said, working with you is a joy. I want to see you prosper. And so I want to give back to those younger people, younger in not in the chronological age, but younger in their career as an entrepreneur or as a business owner or as an agent or publicist, so that they have something to which they can aspire and I can help push them into the stratosphere.
Thank you, Emil. I think that's very good thing that you are seeking something and you're also try to help others as well. Thank you, Emil, for being on the podcast today.
So Taj, it's been my pleasure. And thank you for the invitation. My best to you in your business and to your audience as they figure out what's next for them. The whole point of this conversation, however, should be that there is a very blue sky opportunity confronting all of us in this industry. And I'm not going to tell you that the machine is the end all be all. Quite the opposite. I'm going to tell you is the human being is. But now we have access to tools that can amplify our talents and amplify our ability to present great ideas to the right people at the right time in the right way. So we need to be, instead of looking at it as a potential drag on our society or on our business, we need to be the ones who are offering new ways to employ the human talent and capacity for creativity using these tools that are at our disposal.
Yes, that's rightly said. Thanks, Emily. Thanks, Emil. Thanks for being
Truly a
here.
pleasure. And